Hello guys and welcome back to Planet 40k Tyranids. We've got another review for a unit today, and this time we're going to be looking at the Swarmlord. One of the best melee options that we've got within the HQ slots within the Tyranids Codex. Okay, so the Swarmlord, £36 in the UK or $60 in the US. This will be going up from the 6th of March. Now in order to find this, you need to find the Hive Tyrant box set, because you can build this Swarmlord within that box set. It's a multi-kit box, and you can either build a Hive Tyrant, a Flying Hive Tyrant, or the Swarmlord. Right, so let's get on to the datasheet to begin the video. So 240 points, quite a pricey boy there. Movement of 9 inches, weapon skill 2+, ballistic skill 2+, strength and toughness 8, wounds 13, attacks 9, leadership 10 and a 2+ armor save. Now this has a degrading stat line. When you drop to 6 wounds, the movement goes down to 8 inches, the weapon skill as well as the ballistic skill will go down to a 3+, and then when you drop to 3 wounds or less, not where you want to be really, but the movement will go down to 6 inches and the weapon skill and ballistic skill will be a 4+. So that's the actual statistics for the Swarmlord. As for the keywords, it's a monster, it's a character, it's got Synapse of course, and it's a Psyker, along with being a Hive Tyrant. So lots of different keywords there that are going to relate to all sorts of stuff, which we're going to get through in this video. So let's get on to the Swarmlord's weaponry. What is it equipped with? It's equipped with the Bone Sabres. So these are a melee weapon, so there's no ranged weapons here, but the melee weapon is strength +1, which makes it strength 9. That's really tidy. Even going up against toughness 8, you're still wounded on a 3+. AP is -4 and the damage is a flat 3, so really nice there, especially when you're hitting on a 2+ as it is. You've got 9 attacks with these swords, so yeah, that's going to be doing a ton of work. Pretty brutal all round. Now as for the abilities, of course Synapse and Shadow in the Warp, that's kind of standard for these HQ models. He's then got the 4+ invulnerable save from the Psychic Barrier, and the Blade Parry ability, which will ignore damage the first time a saving throw against a melee attack is failed. So that damage will drop to 0 for the first saving throw in melee, which is really handy, especially if you are caught out on the charge. He's then got the domination of the Hive Mind, which effectively in the command phase, you select a core unit within Synaptic Link range, and they're going to get to reroll all the hit rolls. So very similar to a Chapter Master in that aspect. He's then got the High Commander ability, so very similar in the command phase, a core unit within Synaptic Link range. This time they're going to gain objectives secured, and if they've already got objectives secured, then they're going to count as one additional model when determining control of objective markers. So for example, 5 Termagants, they've already got objectives secured because they're troops, so they'll be counted as 10 models as opposed to 5. And then finally Death Throws, of course, if he's destroyed, roll a d6 on a 6+, the closest eligible unit within 6 inches suffers d3 mortal wounds. So that's the generic abilities. He's also a Psyker, don't forget, so he can manifest 2 psychic powers in the psychic phase and also attempt to deny 2 in your opponent's psychic phase. So he's going to know Smite and 2 powers from the Hive Mind discipline. Now 2 in particular I just want to highlight here. Catalyst is probably 1, because getting a 5+ feel no pain save on this guy could be pretty useful. He's already quite tanky as it is, but that just makes him even more resilient. Also Onslaught is another really good option here, being able to advance as well as charge. You want to get this guy into melee because of course he's not got any ranged weapons. He then comes with a locked Warlord Trait, which is the Synaptic Linchpin. So if you spend 1 command point, you're going to be getting this one. Add 3 inches to the Warlord's aura abilities, and also his Synaptic Imperative abilities, which we will go over in a moment. Also, each time the Warlord uses an ability in the command phase that specifies a range, until the end of the phase you add 3 to that range of the ability. But yeah, overall I don't think that's the best Warlord Trait we've got, but yeah, we are locked into having that one with the Swarmlord. Now talking about the Synaptic Imperative ability, you're going to be using the Hive Tyrant's Relentless Furiosity, because he is of course a Hive Tyrant. So when this Synaptic Imperative ability is active for your army, and a friendly Hive Tendril unit is within 6 inches of the Synapse model, the unit is eligible to declare a charge in a turn in which it fell back. So what this means is all the ongoing fights that are happening at the moment, you can fall back, you can recharge. That way it ensures that you're going to be fighting first rather than potentially fighting second. That's of course only within 6 inches of a Synapse model though. Now we can't talk about Warlord Traits because he's got a locked one as mentioned, and we also cannot talk about any relics because named characters can't take relics, so we're going to move straight into the Hive Fleets. What Hive Fleets are best used with the Swarmlord? So first I'll start with the Behemoth Hive Fleet, which is a +1 to the strength in the first round of combat, which will put him to strength 10, really nice there. Wounding toughness 5 on a 2+, is fantastic. It also grants you a rerollable charge roll. That's again going to be very beneficial to the Swarmlord. Now you could swap out that rerollable charge roll for one of the Hunt biomorphologies, which is Adrenalized Onslaught, which will give you an additional 3 inches to your Constellation move, or potentially you can go into one of the Lurk biomorphologies, Territorial Instincts. Monster models are going to gain objective secured and count as 5 models when determining control of an objective marker. As you're going to be throwing this going up the board and potentially using the Psychic Power Onslaught to advance and charge, the likelihood is this guy's going to be up front and centre, and yeah, stealing objectives at the same time could be really handy. Now staying with this Hive Fleet for a moment, they've got a psychic power called Unstoppable Onslaught. It's a blessing power, warp charge value of a 7, and if you manifest this, you select one friendly behemoth unit within synaptic link range of the Psyker, and until the next turn, each time a model in the unit makes a melee attack, add 1 to the attack's wounds roll. Adding 1 to the attack's wound rolls is actually really huge. I mean, if you were to do this to the Swarmlord himself, he's already at strength 10 on the first round of combat, but even going up against toughness 9 vehicles for example, you're going to be wounding them on a 2+, because it would be a 3+, puts that to a 2+, so really useful there. Now as for another Hive Fleet, we're going to talk about the Kraken Hive Fleet. Their adaptation is the Questing Tendrils, adding 1 to the armor penetration rolls to give him a -5 AP, so even the 2+ armor saves don't get an armor save at all unless they've got an in-1 save. And also with the adaptive, you can advance D3 +3 as opposed to D6. Now that's not the reason why I would select the Kraken Hive Fleet for the Swarmlord, it's actually for the stratagem that's involved with the Hive Fleet. So they've got a stratagem called Opportunist Advance for 1 command point, and you use it in the movement phase on a Kraken unit. So what this does is each time the unit advances, do not make an advance roll, instead just simply add 8 inches to the move characteristics of the models in that unit. Now the Swarmlord is already moving at 9 inches, so adding 8 puts it to 17 inches. Now the second bullet point within the stratagem isn't going to be that effective at all, it's talking about ranged weapons, but bear in mind if you're using the Onslaught psychic ability to advance and still charge, yeah, if you're moving 17 inches in the movement phase with the advance roll, then you've got the charge roll on top of that, he's going to be getting to the other side of the board quite quickly. Now they've also got a psychic power here, which is the Synaptic Lure. One enemy unit within synaptic link range of this Psyker, or within 18 inches of the Psyker, and until the start of the next psychic phase, each time a friendly Kraken unit declares a charge against that enemy unit, you get to re-roll the charge roll. So you've got some of the benefits of the Behemoth Hive Fleet, except this is the Kraken Hive Fleet. When you add all this together, a 17-inch movement with a re-rollable charge roll, lovely. Another Hive Fleet to mention today is the Leviathan Hive Fleet, and of course Synapse monsters, you can't wound them on less than a 4+, which is also going to be very valuable for his resiliency, and they get a single re-roll to their hit rolls when resolving a shooting attack or a fighting attack. Of course we don't have a shooting attack with this unit, but yeah, having a single re-roll to hit in melee is going to be pretty useful. Now you can actually swap out that secondary part for one of the biomorphologies, which is Augmentated Furiosity, so you're going to be adding 1 to the charge rolls made for this unit. Now we can't have everything unfortunately, we've not got the Behemoth Hive Fleet, so we're not re-rolling charges, and we're obviously not Kraken here, we've not got that extra speed, but this is one way to still get him up the board but with a little bit more resiliency. So that's some Hive Fleets that I wanted to mention today for the Swarmlord. Let's get on to some notable stratagems that you're going to use with the Swarmlord. So the first one, Indomitable Monstrosity. Very similar to the Leviathan Hive Fleet, in fact, you can't wound him on less than a 4+. So if you were to go with the Kraken Hive Fleet, you could still use this and still gain that extra buff. Also there's the Ferocious Appetite for 1 command point used on a Hive Tendril monster, which simply allows him to re-roll the wound rolls. Pretty good, and I think for 1 command point that's absolutely fantastic. Definitely take advantage of that one. Then there's a couple more which are epic deed stratagems. One is Death Frenzy. When you lose your model, you can still fight and then be taken off the battlefield. That's 2 command points. Or Power of the Hive Mind to get an additional psychic power. That one I think is very useful for him. You can add the extra smite attack on top of the Catalyst and Onslaught psychic powers, just for an extra bit of damage with the mortal wounds. Right, so let's get on to the summary for the Swarmlord, starting off with the pros. Movement of 9 inches, he's got Synapse and Shadows in the Warp, he's got a very good save of a 2+ with a 4+ invulnerable save. You can use the Lookout Sir ability with Tyrant Guard if you take them. He's going to be providing the Synaptic Imperative ability, and he's got that Blade Parry ability to make the damage go down to 0 the first time he loses an armor save in melee. Close by core units can re-roll all their hit rolls, and he also can give out objectives secured to them. He's an absolute beast in melee, and he's also got 2 psychic powers. Now as for the cons, he's got Degrading raiding stats, of course. It's on foot, it's not a flying hive tyrant here. He's got no natural lookout sir because he's got more than 10 wounds. He's got no range attacks, he's got no options of relics because he is named. He's locked into a pretty bad Warlord trait, and he is quite expensive at 240 points. You could probably look elsewhere within the codex to find a decent beat stick that may be cheaper. And finally, no natural rerolls for himself. So for the Planet 40k rating today for the Swarmlord, I'm going to go with the Planet 40k rating of 4 stars. So guys, that's the end of the video today. If you like the video, remember to subscribe to the channel if you are new. Thank you all for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.